Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So let's continue the crash course on Japanese mobile game shutdowns. I was planning to do just the two parts. One was about the why, and two was about the how. But in the comments, some interesting topics came up, so let's do two more. Oh my god. But part 3 here, we'll be talking about the business model, why it works in Japan, and why global users struggle with it. And part 4 will be about why, in the case of Near Reincarnation, worrying about the financials is kind of a waste of time. Way to sabotage my own video, but part 3 here will be more general interest, and part 4 will be another drill down on Near Reincarnation specifically. But first of all, if you are sensitive or easily offended, for your own sake, stop watching this video. I'm going to lay out some hard truths and tough love that will penetrate pro-global user cocoons. There are folks out there that are 100% on the user's side and will spin what they can and ignore what they can't in order to make the look like the bad guys and the users look like the victims, but I don't do that. I stand in the middle between users and developers, between Japan and the rest of the world. There are always some people that interpret what I say in these types of videos as me scolding global users and saying like, hey, you need to be more like Japanese users, but that is not my intention. My intention is to lay out what JP users value and how it enables these games to succeed here, and I don't ask global users to adopt those values, only to acknowledge and respect them. It's all in the name of laying to rest some things that might be frustrating, but not really fixable, breaking down the obstacles that might get in our way of the enjoyment of what matters, which are the different game modes and the story and the music and all that. I've actually taken this stance for a while, but coming into Near Reincarnation, I was like, well, this is clearly a smaller time game with different priorities. Let's cut back on the meta and industry lectures, partly because I was tired out from all the hate I was getting covering War of the Visions. But regardless, there were some very emotional people in the Near Reincarnation community, and they found reasons to hate me even more than the War of the Visions community, so go figure. But anyway, Near Reincarnation may be getting close to shutdown, so might as well take this chance to address that aspect. This is all stuff I've talked about in videos for other games, but in every new mobile game there's a new generation of global users unfamiliar with the Japanese gaming culture and the business model, and they don't learn from history, and they're like, we have to fix this and change that, because that is not what I am used to, grrr, and nothing changes, and the next game comes around and rinse and repeat. I see this in Japan all the time. Foreigners come in and they see things are run differently than they are back home, and they criticize it while making no effort to learn why things are the way they are. Then the foreigners go home and the Japanese are like, well, there goes that culturally insensitive asshole. Then the next foreigner comes in. Whether living in Japan or playing Japanese mobile games, we are playing on their turf by their rules, and the sooner we can accept that, the smoother, more zen experience we can have, the better we can enjoy what is good. Alright, I wanted to talk about something that doesn't fit anywhere, so it might as well be here, and that is the importance of getting the #1 sales rank on release day. Maybe global folks don't know this, but Near Reincarnation exploded out of the gate and took the #1 sales spot on release day. More than Fate Grand Order, more than Genshin Impact, more than Monster Strike. I'm sure the developers were flabbergasted because that is no small feat, but that is the love for the Nier brand in Japan. I've gotten comments from folks saying Nier is not that popular, and I'm like, oh my god. Automata has sold more than some Final Fantasy mainline titles. They are still celebrating the anniversaries of the release of the game. How many other games get that? So that love translated to a huge opening, but it dropped off steeply, I'm guessing mainly because the battle gameplay, going from the action of Automata to the RPG style active time battle of Reincarnation, was too big a change for most players to adjust to. I'm old, so I prefer the ATB style to like isometric tactical or free roam games. But yeah, if you can get that to #1, that automatically gives your game a lot of cred and hype, and it really carries your game forward. I think if the game had not taken #1, it would not have had as healthy a first 6 months and would not have made it to second anniversary, frankly. It'll be interesting to look at the upcoming Man and the World storyline and think, could the story have worked without the Sun and the Moon storyline? If the game was not successful at launch and had a shorter overall lifespan, could a complete story have been told with just the girl and the monster and then the Man and the World? And was the Sun and the Moon added as like a bonus because of the great success of the first 6 months of the game? And people remember even now that Nier Reincarnation got #1 2 years ago, although these days it has dropped so far in sales that it's usually in disbelief. Full Metal Alchemist recently released a new mobile game and it took #2 on release day, and that was a big disappointment, and people were like, man, even Nier Reincarnation got #1, lame. By the way, I checked the numbers for War of the Visions and it's fine, it's not shutting down anytime soon. I can't speak for global, but JP is going to be fine. Next, let's talk about payment models. I ragged on the subscription model that someone suggested in the comments, and yes, I am old, so I thought they were referring to the World of Warcraft style. But I guess what they meant was the pass system, where you pay like 15 USD and you get a slow trickle of currency and materials over a month or whatever. I feel like this system is more prominent in like Western developed games or like other Asian countries, not so much in Japanese developed games, and I think there are good reasons for that. One is that the Japanese love pulling the hatcher. The Japanese as if people have a gambling problem. Monster Strike, one of the most financially successful mobile games ever, has had essentially one payment model over 10 years. Buy orbs, pull the hatcher, that's it. It's what sells here. But consider this, for a lot of JP people, their favorite part of pulling the hatcher is right before pulling. The Japanese, for better or worse, live very much in the moment. They're very good at being aware of the now, and before pulling, they savor the excitement. They savor not knowing how things are going to go. They hope they get what they want, but they fear not getting what they want. Buying a plan or pass and accruing value over time is not fun to the Japanese, which probably explains why it doesn't appear in a lot of their games. Like, I complain about being free-to-play because I hate waiting. I just want to pull when I want to pull, and that is the whale mentality, and that is what keeps games afloat. Global folks talk about passes keeping games afloat, and I'm like, really? That is such a small amount of revenue compared to like going to the ceiling just once, that you gotta make it up in volume, and global versions of mobile games typically don't have that either. They don't have the population, they don't have the user base for that to even be a possibility. Let's imagine a $1 million revenue goal for a month. How many 15 USD subscriptions would that be? Over 60,000? Are there even that many players in global? I think global users don't enjoy gambling as much and would rather just buy something guaranteed for a fixed price. They want the value for their hard-earned buck. So in addition to not factoring the pull experience, global players get hung up on the value of packs or passes in a vacuum and don't consider that they're also paying for the updates and the music and the world and the story. I think global players feel like, well, the developers already gave me all that, why should I pay for it now? When the reality of it is that somebody has to pay for it, and that's where it comes from. And so when the Japanese buy premium currency to pull in the hatcher, they are buying the thrill in the moment of the pull, and they are aware that they are in addition supporting the game overall. Global players generally do not factor in these two things, so of course they will not see it as of worth to them. After the conclusion of the Sun and the Moon storyline, a lot of Japanese people I saw on Twitter were like, wow, that was great, I'll put some money into the game to show my support. Whereas global players are more like, I would support the game if these packs had more intrinsic value. Wait, what? Why are they cutting English voiceover? And I think that is where the key difference lies. That explains so much. It explains why these games thrive in Japan and struggle outside. Another reason why passes are not common in Japanese developed games is the idea of saving ahead is much stronger in global, because a lot of the time their version is behind the JP version, and so they can get information ahead of time and plan. The most planning or looking ahead Japanese players do is think about future events like summer or the new year or anniversary and say they will save for those, but they rarely have any idea who will be released or what they will do. They are not planning out their account. They are just anticipating something fun and strong, but not expecting anything specific. There too, they are savoring the anticipation, which is why I get so angry at global players that spoil Japanese players with data-mined info. They're destroying a key part of the enjoyment Japanese players experience with these games. I know it's a cultural difference, but still, I wish people would be more sensitive. Again, I'm not asking people to adopt another culture, only to acknowledge and respect it. Anyway, why didn't they add a pass or cheaper packs to just the global version? They've done it for the global versions of other games, and they added like the add video wheel to Near Reincarnation after all. I think it's because of what I will talk about in my next and presumably final video of the series, which is these developers never cared about turning a profit because this game has goals different from other games. Alright, that'll do it for this video. You made it to the end, and maybe there were some things I said that were hard to swallow, but I appreciate your open mind. If I seem pissy about this, it's because I've had to have this conversation over and over and over again in every different game I go to. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.